Hello and welcome to Stream On. This is our second episode of Stream On. I am Hollis James from Pop Culture Graveyard, and with me, as always, is Eila Mel from Jiffy Pop Culture and your other wonderful podcast, which is
Behind the Awards.
That's right. How's that one going, by the way?
It is going so well. We recently recorded an episode with Carrie Preston, who I love. She plays Elsbeth. And also Wendy McClendon Covey, who I think is brilliant. It's going really well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Excellent. Yeah. So please check that out if you're listening to this. For those of you who don't think we care enough about this film, I suffered all day and night yesterday with a debilitating migraine. And Eila is still suffering from a concussion because her dog, her adorable, cute dog, ran into her, hit her right in the head. So we should both be in bed.
I know. We're falling apart. I mean, I don't know what's going on with us, but, you may notice that I have a head injury by the way I participate, but we'll see. Hopefully you won't.
I wish I had that excuse. But so we should both be in bed. That's how much we care about you and how much we like this film. We're not paycheck players.
Oh, no. Oh,
it's love of the game. Yeah.
We're doing it for a paycheck.
Yeah. Where do I get mine? So last week we covered White Lotus season 3. We are switching gears a little bit. We're going to a feature film that I really loved. It's 2024's Conclave. Was this your first, second, or more time watching this?
I don't remember how many times because I started it a bunch of times. I watched it one time the whole way through. And then I started it a bunch of times to watch, some here and there. But I think I probably never stuck with it just because, I was too busy, not because I don't love it. So It was I think probably my second time watching the entire thing in one sitting.
Okay, that was the same for me, 2 times. And I have to tell you, I thought the second time it might drag a little, but it did not for me. This is a quick 2 hours.
I know. That's what was so surprising to me, how fast it went, faster than the first time, because I think I was absorbing it.
Yeah, that's true. And you could really concentrate on the details this time around. And I'll tell you something, perhaps if you guys haven't seen it yet, you might be coming to it with the same frame of mind I had, which is like, oh, this is going to be some stuffy old person movie with a lot of like plotting, headed right down Broadway plot. And
yeah.
Totally. And real actory, chewing the scenery. This is a snappy, quirky little film, and it just keeps switching up your expectations and twisting and turning.
And it's really exciting. I mean, a movie about Cardinals voting. Who would think that was exciting? But I want to be in the room when they do this. And in fact, we are about to have a conclave.
Yep.
I think that the Vatican is missing a big opportunity if they don't make this a reality show. Put cameras in that room. Make it like an elimination show week by week. You can get rid of one.
You get Jude Law to host it as Bad Pope or Young Pope or whatever.
I like it.
Sexy Pope. Yeah, it is golden. This we just had the Pope pass away, and I read up a little bit on the conclave. There's not currently one. Apparently it can't happen until 15 days minimum after the Pope passes. So I guess because in case there's foul play or something, they want time to so someone can't install themselves, I guess, as the Pope. John Lithgow or anyone else.
Could you imagine if a cardinal killed the Pope to step into his role?
Well, that's what's funny about it. When this thing started, I was like, oh, the Pope has been murdered. Ray Fiennes is going to find out who killed the Pope.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, they're going to elect a Pope and Ray Fiennes is going to become the Pope. And then I'm like,
he's going to happen.
Yeah. And then I twisted again and I'm like, oh, Ray Fiennes is going to help this other guy. You cannot figure this film out.
No, which is what's so great about it. You just don't know where it's going to go. You don't know how the vote is going to go. There's no expectations.
None. And I'll tell you something. Ray Fiennes had a really difficult role. He's a man with contradictions. He's questioning his faith. He is kind of in control of this conclave, and he's also got zero control.
Yeah.
He's being pulled in a million directions, and I really think he gave one of my favorite performances by him.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. This was actually my pick to win the Oscar. I knew it wouldn't, but I was hoping it would.
Yeah, I thought it would take Best Picture. I thought it might even take Best Script. I didn't know. But first of all, The Brutalist, who needs that?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I will not see it.
I don't even want to see it now because of Adrian Brody's speech. It was so obnoxious.
So obnoxious, so toxic.
Yeah.
So yeah, just not what you want. But anyway, this is the opposite of that. This is the inverse. And for actors of a certain age, finding a script that you can really sink all of your actor tools into and your teeth into, Ray Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, Isabella Rossellini, who I haven't seen in a while, who is fantastic in a smaller role.
And then actors that I was introduced to from this movie who were fantastic.
Oh, fantastic. I'm a former altar boy, so I don't have to tell you that I am no longer religious. But what was amazing was it wasn't all about religion. It was very political.
Right. That's the thing, because I have no interest in religion. I was not brought up with it. I don't practice any religion. So I'm not interested in watching something about religion. And this was none of that. It was more like sports, actually.
Yeah, it's true. The funny thing is, this has more in common with 12 Angry Men
Exactly.
than it does any other kind of religious film.
No, that's perfect. That's a great analogy.
Yeah. I try to be an ally to women, and I'm very much a hashtag believe all women kind of dude.
Uh-huh.
So take this with a grain of salt. But the ending of this movie was everything I wanted, and it's part of the solution in moving a lot of things forward. I'm progressive to a fault, but I could not believe, given the cast, given the setting, where this movie went.
Yeah. I know you don't see it coming. I mean, so we're going to have spoilers because I don't think we can properly discuss it without.
Maybe not the very end.
Well,
Ah,
why don't we
I
talk about
know.
it? Not. You have to.
You're right. It's a 2024 film, so
It's a big issue, and
yeah.
if the movie hadn't gone there, it would be a completely different movie. So I think we have to. So if you
Right.
haven't seen the movie,
Yeah, duck out.
go watch it, and we'll be waiting. We'll be right there for you.
Right. As I said, the movie twists and turns, and you don't know where it's going to be. And there are all of these usual suspects as far
Right.
as who the next pope is going to be.
Right. So we start. I mean, let's just give a little synopsis. The Pope has died. We literally start with the Pope in his deathbed,
Right.
and Ray Fiennes is summoned there, and I think is John Lithgow there with him.
Yeah.
And so, the Pope dies. And so we, as the audience, find out what happens next. So, they have to choose a new Pope. So they have this thing called a conclave that I never heard of that until this movie. Did you know what that was?
I did know what it was just because of the whole white smoke, black smoke thing. And I grew up first grade through eighth in a Catholic grammar school. So with religious education, as I said, I was an altar boy. My church every Sunday. My mother was a lector, and my dad was an usher. Like
Hardcore.
hardcore, rugged and raw. They were into it. So yeah, I did know
what this whole black smoke, white smoke is.
During the conclave, the cardinals vote over and over again for the Pope. If they are unsuccessful in electing a new Pope by, I think, like a 2/3 majority or something, they send up black smoke through the chimney, letting everyone outside of the Vatican know that there has not been a new Pope chosen. And when they do successfully elect a new pope, they immediately send up white smoke through the chimney,
Now
letting you know that they have one.
I understand these smoke signals, in the, 1600s, 1700s.
Yeah.
I think today maybe they could be a little more high tech,
Yeah, it's not like the it's not like the Catholic religion to stick with ritual. Well, the thing I found fascinating was I thought there was some old school way of like they take all of the ballots that were unsuccessful, they sprinkle them, and then they burn them, and that's what gives you the smoke. But instead, they have like, Hollywood stunt kind of smoke that they use, which I thought was kind of cool seeing the inside baseball stuff.
Yeah, right. They're ready. That's too much work having to burn all those things. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. There was this great John Lithgow is good in everything, so I wasn't surprised he was good as Tremblay. But there was this actor who was playing like this really unlikable the Italian.
Yeah.
But whoever was playing him, he looked kind of like a Spanish Elvis Costello.
Ah, yes. Now I know exactly who.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, he belonged in the good, the bad, and the ugly. He was like Il Cattivo. He was so evil. It was great.
I know. His face, just
like a mafia don.
I know.
Yeah.
It was fun.
He was fun. And at one point you think they're going to elect the first black pope.
Right. But then he goes horribly.
Yeah. Or if he worked at Macy's, I guess they call him the special pope.
Yeah.
Like they do for the Black Santa.
Wait, what? That's a real thing?
Yeah. The Black Santa at Macy's, if you want to have your picture taken, you have to ask for the special Santa.
Why can't they just make it one Santa for everybody? I don't mind if it's a black
I don't
Santa.
mind it either.
No idea.
Yeah, I would request a black Santa. I mean, we've seen the other dude.
He's had his chance.
He's had his run. Yeah, I think it's time.
Let's have different Santas. Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that they make a special distinction. I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they like to please everybody. That's what Christmas is about. So there's the black candidate who is brought down by the same thing political candidates are brought down by.
A woman.
Yeah, a woman. A woman
nun, right? Is she a nun?
She is a nun. Yeah.
So he had, a lapsed moment with this.
Mm-hmm.
And did it result in a pregnancy? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, he had a child.
Remember, I have a head injury, so
yeah. We're gonna keep Eila awake so that nothing bad happens.
Can't sleep.
Yeah. So they had a child like 20 years ago. That kid is a person now, a man, and she became a nun probably after. I don't think she was a nun at the time.
I mean, that's some strong faith because after that.
Yeah.
To be that devoted.
Absolutely. But that cardinal, he wants to just go on as if nothing happened, put in the past, like so many politicians.
Right. Okay. So in his defense, let's say it was in his past. It's something that he, it happened 20 years ago.
Right.
It's over. He's maybe a new person now, and he feels like he can still be Pope. But go ahead.
I'm just going to say, all of these guys, their ambition exceeds their faith.
Oh,
because he never once does he have the thought, if I become Pope, there's going to be a microscope on me. And every reporter out there is like, ooh, the first black Pope. Let me look into this.
Right.
They're going to find out.
Well, that's the thing. Ray Fiennes, he says to him, can I still be a candidate? And he says, no. And I feel for him, not that much because he doesn't seem like a great guy, but a little bit because he says you can never be Pope now because it will come out.
Yeah, I feel for him too, and that all goes to the actor and the performance.
Exactly right, because it's not the character.
No, it's not.
But he brings a humanity to it, which you need. He can't just be like a mustache twirling villain.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Although there is some of that when it comes to the other cardinal I mentioned. And John Lithgow, is great. All of these cardinals have contradictions, and John Lithgow at turns seems malevolent and
Mhm.
really duplicitous, and other terms seems like back on his heels and helpless.
Yeah.
It's really another great performance.
Well, let's talk about the John Lithgow character because there's so much going on. First of all, he's rocking a great toupee. He looks amazing.
Yeah.
Let's just start there. I'm not sure why he needed a toupee for this, but it looks good.
Yeah.
Number two, he's got some scandal. Well, he was very close with the outgoing Pope.
Right.
So there's a lot of secrecy.
Or so we believe.
Well, okay, right. That's right. So can you speak to that a little more than I can?
Yeah. The first thing that we kind of get a sense of in the room is that John Lithgow's character, Cardinal Tremblay, is kind of running things, and he's very quickly going through the motions of like, okay, we take his ring off, we get rid of his emblem, we put it here. It's like he's kind of forwarding the thing. It's almost like his actions. You think he's in charge. You think he's the head cardinal.
Exactly. And it seems like next in line for the Pope.
Right.
Because we go in not knowing how this process works, or I did anyway. But there's also something sinister about it too, because you don't know. He obviously has an agenda, and we don't know what's going on for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, uh, as we slowly uncover that Cardinal Tremblay had a bad last meeting with the Pope, and no one is quite sure what happened at that meeting. And then he hears that it didn't go well and he was fired. And so then I'm like, oh, he killed the Pope.
Yeah.
You keep thinking you're going to be one step ahead of this film, and you're not.
Because
And
you're
that's what I love.
expecting it to be a trope, which it never is.
It never is. What a great script. Screenplay by Peter Strawn.
Okay, I don't know him, but
Yeah.
I'm already.
Oh, I'm not surprised. His occupation is dramatist.
There you go. It could be a play.
Yeah, it could be a play. He was previously nominated for an Academy Award for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy in 2011.
Oh, so he does kind of exciting, kind of edge of your seat thriller.
And the whole thing is based on the 2016 novel by Robert Harris, I should say.
Okay.
When you have that kind of a book and that kind of a screenwriter and these actors, like, if it didn't come out great, I would have been shocked.
I know something would have been very fun. But it could have been boring though.
It could have been very boring.
It seems like it's going to be a snooze fest going in, and there's not a boring moment.
I'll tell you something. I think that's what hurt it in the Academy Awards, because I think judges got their screeners in the mail and they were like, I know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And they watched other things, because if you watch this and then you watch other things, there's no way The Brutalist wins. There's no way this isn't nominated for more.
Yeah. No, I agree. It really needs to be watched. Well, you would think though, if you're a voter, that you are going to be devoted enough to watch everything, but you're probably right. I know that some people don't even vote. They just let their families vote.
Yeah, they're human. You have life. We have things like migraines and concussions.
That's right.
We're
still here.
We're still here. Yeah.
For us.
We're not tagging out.
That's right.
So, in addition to all of the usual suspects that are being voted on for Cardinal, which, I'm sorry, before we get where I was headed, Stanley Tucci is one of the cardinals who has a shot at being the new Pope, and he is wildly progressive.
Love him. He's like the Pope we just had.
Absolutely. I was going to say that. Totally the Pope we need.
Yes.
And funnily enough, he reads a little bit like his character in Devil Wears Prada.
Did you see that didn't come across to me at all? That's so funny.
Oh yeah. And at one point he's like, I never wanted to be Pope. And he's talking like that. And I immediately flashed on him talking to Andy in Devil Wears Prada of just like, runway meant something to, I don't know, a small boy under his covers reading. Like he
so
seems
funny.
like that. Yeah, he was very much like that to me. The same energy, and he's very progressive, and he wants women involved in all that. So
It's interesting. Do you think that there's a world where a woman could be pope at any point?
I'm shocked it hasn't happened by now, but
And why?
yeah,
Like, I don't understand why women are excluded because I don't understand the church at all.
right. I don't understand women not being a part of the priesthood, let alone, I mean, there are in some orders, but let alone not being a cardinal, let alone not being at least up for the chance of being a pope. But, you know, as I said before about their dedication to ritual, you know, these are men who wear ancient garb
Mm.
and swing incense
Yeah.
censers
Well,
and
that's
like, you know, these are old world people, not even old school. So and you know, the church has been terrible to women over over the
interesting. Yeah.
centuries.
Yeah. I mean, Isabella
Mm.
Rossellini would have been one of the better choices in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing, as long as we're talking about the male female dynamic. The nuns are these kind of like selfless, be seen and not heard kind of servants almost.
That's what I was going to say. They seem very much like the secretaries of the church.
Yeah.
You know,
Which,
in the old school 1960s secretary.
which is not a good look.
Oh,
And I love that they portrayed it that way. You don't do service to what they have to put up with unless you portray it accurately.
yeah.
So Isabella Rossellini is great. At one point, when the Black Cardinal has his indiscretion blown up, she is in her office with the nun who is at the center of it. And she kind of puts a roadblock up and shows some force against Ray Fiennes' Cardinal. And I love that little dynamic.
Yeah.
And he slowly endears himself to her, and she realizes he's on the right side.
He's an ally.
But the fact that she is so suspicious of him speaks to the dynamic we just talked about.
Right. Because, there's a reason that her character is not, a young nun. She's been around. She's seen this for years and years. She knows what this is all about.
She's suffered through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so it's probably shocking to her that it's like, oh, a good cardinal.
Right. Right. All
Weird.
the more reason we think he's going to become the next pope because
Yep.
he is a good person.
Yes. And so he's throwing all of his power behind Stanley Tucci's cardinal because the alternatives are bad. And he says
Right.
at one point, is this what it's come to? Choosing the lesser of all of these options.
Right. I mean, it's very much like our politics.
So much like it. And there's a right-wing faction, just like
Exactly.
our politics, that is
Did you?
just...
I didn't expect that would be part of it, but that's so interesting. I mean, most of these men were so conservative. I mean, obviously it's the church, but still you would hope that the church, like everything else, progresses over time.
You would hope. And it's really bizarre because being a kid, the trappings of the church, it's all meant to have this pageantry and this magical aspect to it that kind of makes you think, maybe there is something after this, and maybe that did happen, and maybe, and Conclave rips all of that away.
Yeah.
And you're left with, like I said earlier, 12 Angry Men. And you're showing that these are just men.
It's just a bunch of guys.
Just a bunch of dudes.
Struggling for power.
Struggling for power. And that brings us to the dark horse candidate for Pope, which is this wonderful cardinal who was the cardinal in Kabul, war-torn Kabul.
No one even knew he existed. He just showed up kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, the Pope, prior to dying, he had a relationship with this person long distance where he installed this cardinal in some sort of measure that was secret.
Right.
So that no one would know. It's a surprise to all of the other cardinals when this cardinal shows up.
Like a sibling you never knew you had.
Yes. And it's
for dinner, right?
And it's this Mexican archbishop called Benitez, Cardinal Benitez, played by Carlos Diaz.
I've never seen this actor before, but wow. I want
Nor have I.
everything he's done now.
Yeah, fantastic. This cardinal has such a quiet energy
So different from the rest.
about them. So
Yeah.
different.
Like swimming with sharks, and he's, just this gentle soul.
A smiling dolphin.
Right. Even Ray
Uh,
Fiennes is still part of the system, and he's
yes.
even more, I don't know, evolved and gentle and more of an ally to, whoever would need him than Ray Fiennes
Yeah,
would ever be.
it's true. Cardinal Benitez starts out voting for Ray Fiennes'
He wants
cardinal.
him to, right.
He wants him because he has contradictions and because he is ambivalent about his faith, because he's fighting the good fight in spite of all of these things he's going through.
Well, because he cares. The rest of them just want the power. And Ray Fiennes he says he doesn't want to be Pope. But then we see, that he had his name picked out like everyone else. He
Yeah,
to be John, and he
yeah.
a lesser degree, he is one of the system too, which is I'm not faulting him. That's the world that he lives in.
I like it too because it rang true and it showed that he's just like all the rest of them. It's not that he's above them. It's not that and also he doesn't know his own soul,
Yeah. Right.
you
He's
know?
struggling.
Yeah. Cardinal Benitez, who has this quiet energy to them, slowly but surely begins to pick up a couple of votes themselves. Just as I saw it, it was like when you vote for Ralph Nader or the Green Party, you're
Right.
just like, this is a protest vote. I'm not liking the 3 or 4 factions. Give
Right.
me the new guy who couldn't possibly be Pope.
Yeah. So in real life, those votes always hurt the Democrats. So I hate those
Right.
votes. In
Right.
the movie, it works, but I love
Mm-hmm.
the scene between Benitez and Ray Fiennes where he says, I'm going to vote for you. And Ray Fiennes says, I don't want it. Please don't. He says, nevertheless, I'm going to vote for you.
It's great. And it's good because it hits on a few levels. It hits within the context of the film, but it's also like, my vote is my vote.
And yeah. And also he's dedicated to doing what's right.
Yeah, you vote your conscience.
Yeah. Not what's popular.
Yeah. And you don't vote for the lesser of 3 evils or whatever. And I think it's a real timely wake-up call for Ray Fiennes' character
Mm-hmm.
because he was struggling. He was just voting the company line,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And there's
He didn't know to think outside the box at that point.
no. And there's a wonderful moment where Ray Fiennes, he's like, okay, I guess I'll be Pope. And he picks out his name and it's like, and he votes for himself.
Yeah.
And he goes and he puts it in. And that's when like an act of God happens. A bomb goes off.
Right.
And it just shows it's like that thing my wife Emily was saying, it's like that joke, of God. I sent you a rowboat. I sent you a helicopter. It's like this bomb goes off and it's like, no, you're not voting the right way,
Right.
jackass.
Yeah. Well, what I've heard, I didn't read the book, but I've heard that in the book that was more of a thing where there was terrorism against the church.
Specifically against the church.
Yeah.
Okay. That
So
makes sense.
there's just an element of that in the movie. And I think that that's right. I think, in a book, obviously, you can go into
Mhm.
many more details and different plots. But in the movie, we really needed to stick with this one storyline.
Right, right. So many twists and turns happen, and we finally reach the moment where a bomb goes off, and I paint him as the evil character because he's the closest thing to a villain we get, which is that hard right cardinal
Yeah.
who is so anti-Arab, anti-Islam,
Right.
just goes off on this rant, and it is Cardinal Benitez who silences the whole room with his quiet, loving words at that moment.
Right. He stands up and makes this beautiful speech.
Beautiful.
It's such a game changer for the movie, because it sort of changes a little bit the direction that we thought we were going in. And 2, for these, for the characters as well.
Especially Ray Fiennes' character. Did you see the look on his face afterwards?
Right. Because I think that's when he realized I'm not even the right man for the job.
Right. And that we actually have someone here worthy.
Yeah, right. So they were happy, and I mean, I guess they had no choice, but they were going to go into this picking someone who nobody thought was really the right person.
Yeah. These guys thought they knew what they were doing. And they were like mansplaining all over the place throughout the
Right.
whole movie.
Yeah.
And they're working their room, they're whipping the votes as they do in politics.
Yeah.
And at the end, when Benitez makes this wonderful speech, they realize they didn't know shit.
Right. Because they're sort of, Benitez was on the front lines. They're in their ivory towers. They don't even
Mhm.
really understand how the world works.
Mhm. Yeah, Benitez worked in all of these war-torn places and dealing with like women who were, raped in war and all these terrible things. And so I think Benitez starts off with like, "What do you know of war?"
Right.
Like you talk about war. What do you know of war? And it's like that whole thing is such a great mic drop, and it
Yeah.
leads to the ending of the movie, which is so wonderful to see Cardinal Benitez, spoiler alert, brought in as the new pope.
So
Which,
now I think the movie's over at this point,
yes,
and I would have been satisfied.
totally satisfied.
Right?
You don't need anything past that. What a great twist.
Exactly. This man from, comes out of thin air and he becomes the Pope. Amazing. Rocky, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
So
cue the Bill Conti music.
exactly, right?
Gonna fly now into the credits.
Another twist. Now, again, I'm going to reiterate, we are going to spoil this. So
Hmm.
if you're with us up to this point, but you still haven't seen the movie,
Yeah,
listen to this part because it'll ruin it.
yeah.
What happens?
What happens is Cardinal Benitez chooses their Pope name, which is Innocent, which is one of my favorite Pope names ever, Innocente, or whatever it is in,
Right.
in
Who
the
even knew that
native.
was an option?
Yeah,
So is it Brian O'Byrne's character? He comes.
yeah. Brian O'Byrne's
So he had
character.
information that he was sitting on because he never thought this was going to happen.
Yeah, he's kind of like a combination Guy Friday slash CIA agent
Yeah, right.
for Ray Fiennes' character, who's
Yeah.
running this conclave.
Clearly the other pope too, the outgoing pope.
Yeah, he
He,
handled. Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry. What'd you say?
I said because he knew the secrets.
Because he knew the secrets.
He was not the informant, the confidant.
Right. And so he's helping the Dean of Cardinals, Ray Fiennes' character. And he finds out about Cardinal Tremblay's final meeting. He
Oh
finds
yeah,
out about
do we want to say what happened with him? What his indiscretion was?
yeah, Cardinal Tremblay was accused of simony, which he had all this money that, and first of all, what are you going to do with money if you're a
I,
cardinal? What are you going to drive a fancy car?
I
And
know you can't really do anything with it, but I don't
yeah, I
know.
don't understand it.
Well,
Um,
it's equal to power.
right. So he had all these financial indiscretions that led the Pope to fire him. And that brought him down. The Black Cardinal, it was a sexual thing. So O'Byrne has been just pounding the pavement, finding out these things. Never thought to follow up on Benitez because there's no chance in hell Benitez could win.
Dark horse, right? Could never, ever, ever. Nobody knew him. An outsider doesn't come in and become pope.
Right, right. He finally is like, I have to tell you this now. I can't believe he won, so it's incumbent upon me. And he's like, he was going to this clinic.
Well, he had to have a hysterectomy.
He did. First of all, he was headed there for some sort of surgery. We know not what. And we find out from talking to Ray Fiennes, it would have been a hysterectomy. And which led me to believe, I'm like, wait a minute. Benitez was just born with parts of both. He was going to have his uterus removed,
Right. Now,
decided against it. Yeah.
I just want to jump in and say that he didn't even know his whole life that he was intersex.
Right. There was no kind of duplicitous, so I'm going to masquerade as a man or whatever.
I mean, he was a man. He didn't
Yep.
know that
Yep.
he had, a uterus. He didn't know any of this. So this
Mhm.
was a surprise to him. And then do you want to say, I don't want to steal.
No, 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 go do it. I love it. I love that for you.
So he decided, so he was going to have this hysterectomy, and then he decided not to. He said he wanted to remain the way God made him, which
Yeah.
shows you how much of a man of faith he is.
Yes. I mean, if it got out, of course, the Cardinals would do exactly what the Cardinals do and they would shut it down. But I would be like, oh my God, you guys are always talking about miracles.
Right.
This fellow was born a miracle,
Exactly.
with that within him, and it would put more shine on him to me.
But
But
to us, but maybe not
to
to.
us, but we are not in that room. We are
But
not listening.
what we see, and I think that it's such a great, not trick, but a great part of the storytelling is that it makes no difference as to who this person is
Right.
because he's intersex. Who cares? It's like some people are double jointed. What's the difference?
That's a good analogy. It doesn't mean any more than that.
It doesn't change who he is. It doesn't change his faith. Certainly, it only enhanced his faith. It makes
Mhm.
him better prepared and better equipped to be Pope.
Right. And I love that Ray Fiennes, I don't know this, but it seems to me at the end, this is what I'm taking, almost finds his faith again through what happened with this cardinal. And he decides to keep the secret.
Now, what do you think about that? Should it be a secret? In a perfect world, it shouldn't be a secret, but we're not in a perfect world. So what do you think of this?
We're in a far from perfect world, so I'm totally down with that. I think we are the decisions we make, and we're also the secrets we keep. And I think this is a secret you keep.
Yeah, I think so too, because more people will be helped by this secret than harmed. No
Yeah.
one will be harmed by it.
Also, if the Pope is truly God's emissary on earth, as they believe, he found him. That's
It was his
Benitez.
exactly.
And everything else is just semantics and details. There's no one better to lead in that College of Cardinals.
Could we get Benitez for now? I mean, he would be a good candidate.
Yeah, I would love. Well, maybe there's
I hope
an
there is
equivalent.
candidates out there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
certainly don't know who the candidates are for the next pope. So here's a controversial question. Why do we even need a pope? Like, what is the pope's role?
I think it's somewhat, well, it's like the Queen of England. If the Queen of England still had power,
It's
it's like
just, yeah.
it's ceremonial, but it's also, there is a hierarchy, and priests answer to bishops, answer to archbishops, and why am I blanking on all of the hierarchy? But there's there's yeah, there's cardinals, and they reassign priests, they move people, there is a hierarchy, and they're on the top of it. If you think of it as a corporation, you wouldn't ask why it has a president. And it's somewhat like that, except that they imbue it with all of these heavenly powers, which, I mean, Pope John Paul II, isn't he a saint now? They attributed a couple of miracles to him. I think you need like 3 miracles or something.
He's the first pope that I can remember.
Yeah, he was the Pope. My parents went to see him at Shea Stadium. I remember in the 70s. He was a hell of a pitcher when he came up. It was a miracle how he got those guys out. What I love too is, like, you figure that the movie's ended, Benitez is the Pope, and then you get this scene where he won't dress. He's just sitting there. And so Ray Fiennes goes in, he tells him his secret. Ray Fiennes sits with it, with that information, he kind of droops down.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, where's this headed? And then we get this lovely denouement where there's like, Ray Fiennes finds a turtle inside the church. He picks it up, brings it outside. It was the dead Pope's turtles. Yeah. He loved them. And then we see him in his window, and he's just looking down at a door, and he sees a few young nuns coming out chuckling, and he hears female voices. And he kind of smiles, and it ends. And I'm like, I love that because it's a little opaque, but I love the fact that it's almost like he's chuckling to himself about the secret he gets to keep. He's chuckling that the best man won and it was a woman.
Yeah.
And I think also he's kind of like he's comfortable in his room again. I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's going to stay on because
Like,
he believes.
oh, right, right, exactly. It's a new world for him.
Yeah. It's got that new pope smell.
Exactly. That's what you want.
Yeah.
And that's Conclave.
And that's Conclave, everyone. Did I miss anything? Did we hit it all?
We probably missed,
Yeah.
but I think we've covered the basics. No, I think
Great.
we did a very good deep dive.
Okay. Hopefully. So yeah, high recommend on
Yes,
Conclave.
absolutely. Yes, again, this was my choice for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm shocked it didn't win.
Yes.
So hopefully, yeah, get out there and watch it. Good work. Was there anything else, streaming movie wise or otherwise, that you wanted to say?
So I am watching Your Friends and Neighbors
Oh, okay.
on Apple. So maybe that's something we want to talk about. I don't know. Have you started that?
Right. You had mentioned you might want to jump into Black Mirror because there's a new.
It's amazing. Yeah, I love Black Mirror. Do you watch that at
Okay.
all?
I don't watch it. I would be watching it for us.
So good. It's like the
Okay.
Twilight Zone, but it's a cautionary tale about technology in the very near future.
And is it each season is its own thing or
No,
is it episodic?
it's very much like the Twilight Zone. They're standalones.
Great. That's for me. Okay. I'll check it out. Maybe we'll do
You
that.
don't have to go back to season one, although there's some great episodes.
Good. Okay, good. I prefer that.
I was just thinking that, we could do the new season just because people have been waiting years for it to come out.
Okay. Great. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for battling through your concussion. You're a warrior.
Sorry, I wasn't 100% with it, but I tried.
I'm not 100% either. We're both going to go lie in bed now
Oh,
and watch something else. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Conclave.
and we will see you next time on Stream On.